Hey, welcome back. Hope you had a good lunch break, made some useful contacts. Shall we crack on with our next headliner? So on the main stage, we are kicking off with a presentation entitled Speechbrain, an open source toolkit for conversational AI. And that's going to be presented by Mirco Ravanelli, Adjunct Professor at the University of Montreal, Mila, Associate Member and Assistant Professor at Concordia University. Mirco is an expert in deep learning and conversational AI and has published over 60 papers in these fields. He's mainly focused on novel deep learning modalities such as self-supervised, continual, multimodal, and cooperative learning. Mirco, over to you. Please welcome him to the stage.
All right. Hi, everyone. Good to see you after the lunch break. Okay. So today, I would like to share some insights about a pretty exciting project that I'm leading this day, which is called Speechbrain. What is Speechbrain? Speechbrain is an open source toolkit for conversational AI. I and some collaborators have started this project a few years ago at Mila. And when we released this toolkit, actually gained a lot of success. And these days, Speechbrain is among the most used toolkits, open source toolkit for speech processing. So in this brief talk, I would like to make you aware of this project, and I would like to share some insights about the vision that motivates our community contribution. Okay, start. So first of all, let me tell something about conversational AI. Right? So what is conversational AI? Conversational AI, you can define it as the art of building machines that are able to naturally converse with humans. If you think a little bit about that, this is a technology that started to change our life, not today, but years ago, right? Think about Siri, right? Siri was released by Apple in 2011. After that, we have seen other speech assistants like Amazon Alexa, but also Microsoft Cortana, and more recently, Google Home. And these days, these devices are everywhere, right? I'm pretty sure many of you have these devices at home, and you guys use, like me, on a daily basis. So that was actually like 10 years ago or something like that, right? But it's only pretty recently that we figure out that this technology is not like changing our life a little bit. This technology, conversational AI technology, can have a huge impact on our society. So we are all very excited by that, but also concerned. Because this technology is very powerful, but is also not far from being perfect. For instance, just for fun, I asked ChatGPT, who is Mirco Ravanelli, which is I, right? And ChatGPT said, oh, I don't know who is this guy is, not famous. Okay, no problem, we are friends. But then I asked in the same prompt, I asked like, is Mirco Ravanelli a deep learning researcher? And ChatGPT said, yes, Mirco Ravanelli is a deep learning researcher. He did many papers on audio, speech, whatever. And that was true, right? So essentially, ChatGPT was lying, right? Because at the beginning, it claimed something, right? And then just the sentence after, it says something else. And it's not just that, right? So even in this simple prompt, there was an hallucination, right? ChatGPT thinks that I'm working for Facebook, right? Which is not actually the case. It could be the case, but it's not actually the case. So we have like also hallucination. So this technology is really, even at the current stage, right? It's pretty impressive, works very well. We are all very excited, but we are also well aware that there are many possible harmful things. So also here today and yesterday we discussed about possible issues, like we talk about biases, hallucinations, and tons of possible misuses. But what I'm really scared about is also this scaling race that is taking place. What this means? It means that every time we train a model which is bigger and train with more data, we have a better performance, right? And this trend is not ending. Why this is dangerous? This is dangerous because this trend is naturally concentrating the technology in the hands of few. And I don't want that. That's very dangerous. And one of the motivation behind our project was like to make not just to make conversational AI technology in general more inclusive. There are barriers these days that prevents this technology to be inclusive. We said, right? So there are the models are so big that we cannot afford them in terms of computational resources. Only few people in the world have the computational resources to train a state-of-the-art model like ChatGPT. Very dangerous. Another problem in data, of course, there are companies that have more data than others, and they cannot share. So we don't have access to the amount of data that some companies have. And the third thing is code. Even though there are many open source initiatives these days, which I really like, still the code of some large language model, like ChatGPT, for instance, is not open, and also the code for the speech assistant is proprietary. So that's actually something we don't want. So with our initiative called Speechbrain, we tried to give our little contribution together with many other open source projects to break down at least the code the code wall, the code issues. So what is Speechbrain? Speechbrain is an open source conversational AI toolkit based on Python. So we work very hard on that, and we try to do our best to develop a toolkit suitable for research and development. So you can use it to quickly prototyping speech and conversational AI technologies. And I would like to remark that conversational AI is not just about large language models. Conversational AI is actually a lot of technologies. Think about a speech assistant. Speech assistant, you may have like voice activity detection, keyword spotting, speech recognition, spoken language understanding, dialogue, speech synthesis, all these technologies together, not just a single large language model. And the good news is that in Speechbrain, we implemented almost all of these technologies. They are already available to our users. The other pretty good news is that these technologies are not anymore independent like in the past. All these technologies are strongly interconnected because they share the same underlying technology, which is deep learning. So these days it's really possible to develop a toolkit like Speechbrain where somehow these technologies interact with each other. Right? So ideally, what we want out of this project is to build some kind of toolkit that, just like our brain, is able to recognize speech, understand its content, understand some meta information regarding the speech, like the language, the emotion, the speaker identities, and finally enable a conversation with humans which is more natural than what we can do today. So there are a lot of technologies that we implemented over the last couple of years, and I will give you a quick overview of the most important one. One is speech recognition. Recognition is a technology that converts an input recording into text. But we work also hard on speech enhancement. Enhancement is about removing noise from your speech recording. We have a lot of technology. Speech separation is the case, imagine when there are multiple speakers speaking at the same time, and we would like to separate them. We have technology for that. Speaker recognition is about identifying the speaker that is speaking, the identity of the speaker that is speaking. Spoken language understanding, instead, we have an input, some kind of text or some kind of speech signal, and we would like to retrieve, to predict the semantic content inside this signal. Of course, we have a lot of language models that we use in different ways inside the toolkit. Dialogue technology, right, that allows you to reply when you have some kind of input. And also, we have speech synthesis, which is about, creating voices. We actually have many, many more of this technology. So you can take a look at our website for a full list of technology. We have a system for emotion recognition these days, for language identification, and many, many other speech-related technologies. So what makes Speechbrain pretty interesting, according to me? What makes Speechbrain a good contribution to the community? First of all, for every of the technology that I mentioned, we release many pre-trained models. And we release these pre-trained models using our Hugging Face repository. But let me remark this point. Releasing pre-trained models is good, but it's not enough. We want, actually what we are doing is to release also the so-called training recipes. Training recipes are all the needed steps that you need to follow to replicate and to train your model from scratch. That's very important. Many people are releasing only the pre-trained model. Instead, we want to release the pre-trained model and all the training recipe that allows everyone to replicate our results. That's a good way to enable replicability, right, and transparency. Speechbrain is actually useful. It has a lot of utilities for speech processing, audio processing, speech processing, text processing, and also in general for sequence processing. For instance, people these days are using our toolkit for EEG signal processing. This is an academically driven project. So we really care about education. And in our website, we created a lot of tutorials that can help early students or practitioners to start familiarizing not just with Speechbrain, but more in general with the conversational AI technology. We want our toolkit to be used by everyone. So we release it with a very permissive license, Apache 2. So you can use it for both commercial and non-commercial uses without any problem. So it's very open from this point of view. And last but not least, the most important pillar of our project is the community. We are building step by step a community which is getting larger and larger, and this is crucial for us to improve, to get better results, to stay updated with the state of the art, solve bugs, etc. So community plays is a very important has a very important role in Speechbrain. Okay, so how can you use Speechbrain? Of course, there is no time here to go into technical details, but I would like to just tell that what we did really our best to make sure that all the tasks that I mentioned share the exact same code structure. Like we have one way to specify the hyperparameters. Like in the hyperparameter file, you specify all the functions, right, or classes that you're going to use. And in the training script, you specify how you combine these classes to train your model. So essentially, making sure that this, having the same code structure for all these different tasks helps users a lot, right? Because it's very easy in this way to jump from one task to another and reuse almost all the code and just change the part of code that you need to change. So that's, we really work very hard on these topics. I never worked that hard in my entire life, but I think we find a solution which is, on average, appreciated by our users. So a little bit of history. We started this project during COVID, actually. So it was really, really hard for us. Like I set up a team of many people, and that there was the COVID outbreak, and everyone disappeared. So we were forced to work remotely, but that actually worked very well. So we are now continuing in this modality, and after 1 year, in March 2021, 2 years ago, almost, we released the first version of the toolkit. The numbers are growing. We have pretty good numbers, and now we are proud to say that Speechbrain is among the most used toolkit, at least for speech processing. And today, I would like to announce that we are working hard on the new version of Speechbrain, and it will be available very likely at the end of the summer. So there will be many news, right? So we are going to expand significantly the toolkit. I mentioned EEG, but we are expanding the dialogue part. We are working on streamability and many, many other topics. I think that will be pretty cool, and we hope to release that by the end of the summer. Okay, so you can take a look, if you want, at our website, our code repository. We also have a bunch of tutorials, as I mentioned, and tons of pre-trained models that you can find on our Hugging Face repository. If you go on GitHub, do not forget to start our project, because this is a way, if you appreciate, of course, our contribution, because this is a way to gain visibility and more collaborators, and together build a better system. So I would like, that's all. I would like, first of all, to thank our sponsor. Let me also say that we are always looking for new sponsors, so if you are interested, just contact us. I would like to thank also our institutional partner, right, that are actually playing an important role, helping us every day. And of course, last but not least, our collaborators, right? Many collaborators that work so hard and with so much passion over the last years to make that possible. There are also second page of contributors, and I'm happy to take some questions now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mirco. And so I think we have time for one question. So, and I've seen this chap in the middle, your hand has been, you were the first, so let's send the mic over. Thank you very much.
1, 2, 3. Yes. Hello, thank you so much for your speech today. And as an expert in this field, I was wondering, what is your thoughts on, so you have speech processing, right? There's, in the context of an assistant that should be able to hear you, process your task, and for example, and respond to you back with speech, ideally. In that context, how valuable it is to take in speech compared to text input. Because one of the simplifications you could potentially do is to convert speech into text and do that processing. What do you lose when you take in text instead of speech? And where do you see most value in processing speech compared to text? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for this question. So I think speech, of course, has much more information than a plain text. Right? Imagine about emotion, prosody. This is a kind of information that you can definitely use to build a more, let's say, empathetic conversational AI system. So there are many information that speech can have that text doesn't have. And I think in the future we will use more and more this information to build better conversational AI system. So yeah, I think that totally makes sense. Even though there is more text than speech, of course, but I think that's a direction that will be important to explore. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for letting us learn about your work. Mirco, everyone. So I will move on to our next speaker, and who we're just setting up now, who is Aishwarya